Hello everybody and welcome to this Scouting Report. I'm Dan Haiek here with Matt Doyle, and today we're previewing the Sunday afternoon match between the Portland Timbers and Chicago Fire. Matt, what's the hook for this game?
Well, the floodgates really opened for the Portland Timbers, as Caleb Porter said he hoped they would after last weekend's late goal.
Now, if their wingers can play as well as the wide midfielders did for Chivas in Week 1 against Chicago, they probably will. Chicago had a lot of problems with those wide players, Mauro Rosales and Leandro Barrera. Now, are Portland going to cause them as much trouble out wide?
I think they can, but in a different way. What Chivas did that was so effective against Chicago was hold the ball on the flanks, play quickly to the middle, force Chicago to get compact, then play quickly back to the flanks. Chicago didn't do a good job of recognizing that and keeping their shape. Portland does it a different way. They like to hold the ball up the middle, then overload the flanks. Either thing can be effective against a defense that really doesn't know. They don't have their rotations down, and Chicago looked to me like a team that didn't have their rotations down. They had to send extra help to the deep midfield, and yeah, that is a good recipe for creating gaps on the flanks to exploit. The thing I worry about with Portland, though, is they don't have a lot of verticality on the flanks. They missed that last year in the few games that Rodney Wallace wasn't able to play. Well, Wallace is out of action until June, and Steve Zakuani only made a cameo.
Yeah.
They're going to need a guy like that, a guy who could stretch teams to really start playing that Portland Timbers soccer that we saw at times last year.
Now, for Chicago, it wasn't just troubles on defense. They also had issues creating chances against Chivas. That brings us to the WTF stat. The number is 505. That's how many shots Chicago had last year. It was best in the league. Of course, a big reason why was Mike Magee. He was missing against Chivas, and it showed. They only had 7 shots in that game. Do they need him to play in order to generate an attack?
I think they need a focal point, and in Magee's absence, it should have been Juan Luis Anangano, but he was a cipher. He had just a really, he was a non-entity out there for Chicago, and you expect better of the big DP striker. He does have all the tools that you want to see in a guy playing that number 9 position. He just can't seem to put it together, and none of the guys really played off of him very well. They became a much more effective team in the second half once Quincy Amarikwa came on, and I think that might be what Frank Yallop does in this one as well. You're not going to hold the ball against Portland in Portland. You're going to have to hit them on the counter, and that's where Amarikwa is very, very good. And Mike Magee does a good job of trailing those counterattacks, popping up in good spots, and getting those uncontested finishes that won him an MVP award last year. So yeah, I think he does help, but the Fire are prohibitive underdogs in this one, no doubt about it.
All right, well, we'll find out if they can pull off the upset on Sunday. It kicks off at 3 p.m. Eastern. You can watch it on UniMas.